Welcome to Ancient Chinese Philosophy and Life. Behind the entire symbolic world of the I Ching lies one simple but powerful idea, Yin and Yang. This concept probably grew from the daily experience of ancient Chinese people. Imagine that your life depends on growing food from the land. Every day you watch the sun rise and set, you experience day and night, warmth and cold, sunshine and rain. These natural changes could directly affect when your people plant and harvest, and whether your community has enough food to survive. Yin and Yang, therefore, offered a natural and simple way to organize these recurring patterns. Over time, this way of thinking became closely connected with observing the seasons, measuring time, and developing traditional calendar systems. The Chinese characters of the sun and the moon also give us a vivid picture. If you look at yin and yang, the character for yang contains the sun character, the character for yin contains the moon character. Even more interesting, if you put the sun character on top of the moon character, they become the character yi, exactly the yi in I Ching. So yi means the constant alternation of the sun and the moon, or the day and night, therefore yin and yang. From this ordinary experience of daily life, Yin and Yang gradually developed into a much deeper way of understanding changes of nature, human life, and the universe. Later Chinese thought extended the concept even further. It is said that before Yin and Yang there is Wuxing, the limitless, undivided state, before clear form appears. Then comes Taiji, the great ultimate. This is the moment when order begins to emerge, when the possibility of change first appears. It was the famous biblical moment of let there be light. Once light or yang appears, darkness or yin also appears, and from this first distinction, change begins. Therefore, yin and yang are the basic binary logic behind the symbolic system of the I Ching. They are a way of describing how the universe begins, moves, interacts, and transforms. In this binary system, a solid line represents yang and a broken line represents yin. These lines are called yao in Chinese. It contains two pairs of crossing lines, suggesting interaction and connection. It also means that nothing exists completely alone, and everything is constantly interacting with something else. From a modern point of view, we may compare this ancient tendency to group things for simplification to the mathematical idea of sites. The yang side includes qualities such as brightness, activity, expanding, strength, and upward motion. Yang is the energy of creation, movement, and intuition. Therefore, daytime, the sun, heaven, and traditionally the masculine principle are associated with yang. The yin side includes qualities such as darkness, receptivity, gentle, downward motion, and rest. Yin is the energy of nurturing, receiving, and sustaining life. Therefore, nighttime, the moon, earth, and traditionally the feminine principle are associated with yin. But yin and yang are not moral judgments. No one is better than the other. Both yin and yang are necessary and required to describe different states, tendency, and relationships within nature and the universe. In many forms of dualistic thinking, two sides are treated as completely separate and mutually exclusive. But in Chinese philosophy, yin and yang are regarded as two aspects of one whole, like two sides of the same coin. Even more importantly, they depend on each other, contain each other, and constantly transform into each other. The familiar Taiji diagram shows this relationship beautifully. In the circle, the black and white fish-like shapes embrace and chase each other. This means that within yang there is always yin, and within yin there is always yang. Day turns to night, summer turns into winter, movement eventually returns to stillness, and stillness prepares for the next movement. Together, they form the living rhythm of the universe. The goal, therefore, is not to eliminate one side or to allow the other to dominate. In traditional Chinese medicine, health depends on the balance of yin and yang within the body. When this balance is disrupted by external or internal pathogenic influences, illness may arise. The goal is to maintain a dynamic balance and respond wisely as conditions continue to change. This is the key to understand the I Ching. Now we move one step forward from a 1-bit yin-yang system to a 2-bit binary system. When yin and yang interact, they form 4 faces, or 4 images in English and Sixiang in Chinese. Great Yang is represented by 2 solid lines, while Great Yin is represented by 2 broken lines. Lesser Yang and Lesser Yin each contain 1 solid line and 1 broken line, showing the transitional stages. I guess a quite intuitive thought for the Chinese Asian people would be to connect 4 seasons to these 4 images. Spring for Lesser Yang. In spring, yang energy begins to rise, the weather becomes warmer, plants begin to grow, and life returns to the land. This is the spring emergence, the beginning of growth. Great Yang corresponds to summer. In summer, yang reaches its fullness strength. Sunlight, warmth, and growth become abundant, and living things flourish. This is the summer growth, the period of expansion and vitality. Lesser yin corresponds to autumn. In autumn, yang begins to withdraw while yin gradually increases. Fruits ripen, crops are gathered, and the energy of nature begins to turn inward. This is autumn harvest, the time of maturity and collection. Great yin corresponds to winter. In winter, yin reaches its greatest strength. Growth slows, life becomes quiet, and the energy stored beneath the surface. This is the winter storage, a period of rest, preservation, and preparation for the next cycle. So the 4 images describe 4 stages within a continuous process of change: emergence, growth, decline, and storage. Ancient Chinese thinkers then had 4 sides to group more things. For example, they include the 4 directions: east, south, west, and north. More interestingly, each direction was associated with a symbolic animal: the azure dragon in the east, the vermilion bird in the south, the white tiger in the west, and the black tortoise in the north. When the center is added, we now have 5-part spatial system, which later became the Wuxing, often translated as the 5 elements or more accurately the 5 faces: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. This is a much more complex system, but for now we can understand it simply as 5 broader categories used to organize patterns in nature, the body, society, and the wider universe. In later videos, we will explore the 5 elements in more greater detail, for example, how these 5 elements interact and how these ideas could be applied to medicine, personality, and everyday life. Then we add 1 more line and move to the 3-bit system, the Bagua or Trigrams. Now we are reaching the key concept of the I Ching. As with these 8 trigrams, the ancient Chinese were able to include almost everything in the universe. We have explored this 3-bit binary system in the previous video, so I will move quickly past these 2 slides and go directly to a closer look at the 8 trigrams. Each one of them has a shape, a natural image, a family role, and a characteristic energy. Together, they form a symbolic language for describing the world. Qian is the trigram of heaven. All 3 lines are yang. It is pure yang, strong, active, and creative, and it also represents the father. Kun is the trigram of earth. All 3 lines are yin. It's pure yin, soft, receptive, and yielding, and it also represents the mother. Zhen is the trigram of thunder. It looks like a bowl opening upward. It represents the ideal sun, and its main quality is movement. Zhen is the trigram of mountain. It looks like a bowl turned upside down. It represents the youngest sun, and its main quality is stillness or stopping. Li is the trigram of fire. It's called empty in the middle, as both top and bottom lines are yang while the middle line is yin. It represents the middle daughter, and its quality is brightness. Kan is the trigram of water. It is called four in the middle, as both top and bottom lines are yin, while the middle line is yang. It represents the middle sun, and its quality is dilemma or danger. Dui is the trigram of lake or marsh. It is called open at the top. It represents the youngest daughter, and its quality is joy or pleasure. Xun is the trigram of wind. It is called open at the bottom. It represents the eldest daughter, and its quality is entering or gently influencing. In Chinese tradition, there are two major arrangements of the Bagua. One is called the early heaven Bagua, the other is called the later heaven Bagua. The early heaven Bagua is traditionally associated with Fuxi. It represents an ideal image of the universe at its beginning, before the world enters constant movement and change. The 8 trigrams are arranged as 4 opposing pairs, creating a careful balanced cosmic structure. In this arrangement, heaven and earth establish their positions firstly, mountain and lake exchange their energies, thunder and wind respond to each other, and water and fire do not fight with each other. Together, they form an ideal field of symmetry, harmony, and cosmic balance. Therefore, the early heaven Bagua is a model of the universe's original structure, its underlying relationships, and its inner order. You can also see that the numbers assigned to the trigrams follow exactly the binary sequence we introduced earlier, and they form the Taiji diagram. Even more interesting, when we add the directions to the early heaven Bagua, we can make a loose comparison with the geography and climate of China. In the northwest, we found Gen, the trigram of mountain. This direction corresponds broadly to the high and mountainous regions of China. In the southeast, we found Dui, the trigram of lake or marsh. Southeastern China is lower in elevation, closer to the coast, and historically rich in rivers, lakes, and wetlands. In the northeast, we found Zhen, the trigram of thunder. This region experienced strong summer weather, including thunderstorms. And in the southwest, we found Xun, the trigram of wind. Southwestern China is strongly influenced by seasonal monsoon winds arriving from South and Southeast Asia. These connections are not exactly scientific boundaries, but they offer an interesting way to see how Asian symbols of mountains, water, thunder, and wind could be related to observations of the natural world. The later heaven Bagua, by contrast, is traditionally associated with the King Wen of Zhou. It describes not the world at its origin, but the world in motion. It shows how things generate, develop, and interact in the real world. In this arrangement, all things begin with Zhen in the east, associated with spring. This is the energy of emergence and growth. Then we move to Li in the south, associated with summer, where things reach their fullest expression. Then comes Dui in the west, associated with autumn, the time of harvest and completion. Then they are stored in Kan in the north, associated with winter, when life retreats inward and preserves itself. Numbers assigned to the trigrams in later heaven Bagua has a very interesting story. According to late legend, a divine turtle emerged from the Luo River carrying a numerical pattern on its shell. This pattern became known as Luo Shu, or the Book of Luo, and was connected with the number assignment of the later heaven Bagua. What makes this arrangement special is that every row, every column, and both diagonals add up to 15. This is known as a 3x3 magic square. Overall, if the early heaven Bagua asks, "What is the universe?" then the later heaven Bagua asks, "How does the universe work?" In traditional Chinese thought, the early heaven arrangement is often called Ti, the essence or fundamental body. The later heaven arrangement is called Yong, the function or application. One shows the world in its original principle, gives us the structure and its being. The other shows the world in its actual operation, gives us the movement and its becoming. And together, they show how Chinese thought try to understand both the order of the cosmos and the process of change. Finally, we arrive at the 64 hexagrams, the central symbolic system of the I Ching. Each hexagram contains 6 lines, and it can be understood in several different ways. First, we can read the 6 lines individually. In the I Ching, King Wen of Zhou named and attached a short judgment to each hexagram, while his son, Duke of Zhou, explained the individual line. Second, the 6 lines can be divided into 3 levels. The bottom 2 lines represent Earth, the top 2 lines represent heaven, and human beings stand in the middle. Third, as explained in the previous video, each hexagram can be understood as 2 trigrams placed together. The lower trigram is called the inner trigram, while the upper trigram is called the outer trigram. Overall, the system develops from Yin and Yang to the 4 images, the 8 trigrams, and finally the 64 hexagrams. It began with observations of nature, daily life, and human experience, but gradually became a more abstract, symbolic language. Through these symbols, ancient Chinese thinkers organized recurring patterns of growth, decline, danger, opportunity, and change. The result was a compact framework for understanding the changing world and guiding reflection and action. In the coming videos, we will explore these hexagrams one by one. We will look at their images, their judgments, their changing lines, and the ways people traditionally use them to think about uncertainty, make decisions, and respond wisely to life. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to continue exploring the I Ching with me, and I will see you in the next video.